Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between. How's it going, my brother?
Man, real good. Real good.
Nice to see you, Jason.
Yeah. How's your week been?
Got your coffee? Look at this
Oh,
old
yeah.
man. Oh, we're just drinking some coffee. But yeah, so exciting news. Our guest tonight is Mr. Austin Moe,
Mm-hmm.
and returning guest, and he's got a new EP coming out and a music video coming out, and things are looking exciting. So it's going to be cool to catch up with him. And Jason, what's been going on with you this week, man?
Same old, same old. You know, just working and messing with guitars, and that's about it, right?
Your beard looks nice and shapely. You look like Kris Kringle.
Why, thank you.
From Miracle on 34th Street.
I'm trying to keep it tame because it gets out of control real fast if I don't.
Nice. All righty. So yeah, let's without further ado, let's bring on our friend and pal, Mr. Austin Moe. What's happening, brother?
What's going on, guys?
Not much, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just relaxing in the nice, warm, sunny day that is California.
Right? Yeah. Jason, I took a handful of edibles earlier. Is his background moving?
It is.
Just wanted to check.
Yeah.
So, Austin, the last time I saw you, I got to meet you, hang out for the day. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was a fun day.
Mr. Nichols there.
Oh,
jamming with that guy, whoever he is, right?
Yeah.
Some Viking or something.
Yeah, some big.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was at the Illinois Guitar Show.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Absolutely. And yeah. Oh, do I have what?
I was getting into
that, huh? Not too shabby.
Yeah. That amp, man, it's perfect. Yeah, it's awesome.
Tell us the story about the amp and what happened with all that.
So, to make a long story long, I shared the stage with Jared around this time last year, and his Black Star had just came out. I call it a mini half stack because a normal half stack is like, dude, it's like 5 feet tall, and his is like up to my waist. So we did the gig after the show. Everything was packed up, and I just had to ask him. I was like, dude, are you just using it on the clean? Because he had a claw and a couple overdrives on his pedal board that I definitely didn't take a picture of. And so he's like, no, dude, it's all from my amp. And I was like, it's all from your amp? So I was like, wow. And shortly thereafter, it was around Christmas, early November time of last year, I went into my local music store and they had one.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I can't do this to myself right now. I just bought a guitar and I should be saving up to buy my family Christmas presents. So there's no way that I should plug this in right now. So I set it there and I, got my strings and I left. So then we flew out to Chicago area in January, late of this year. And Jared brought his amp and all this stuff. And man, it just killed it. Again, no pedals. The overdrive is just exactly what I've been trying to achieve in my head for a long time. So I flew home. I called up the music store and I said, there's no way you still have that amp, right? And they sent me a picture. Click. You mean this one right here? I was like, oh my gosh, how much do you want? And so we went back and forth. And the only other listing that they could compare it to was somewhere out of Kentucky. And they were basically just selling it as is. Like they weren't trying to make money off of it. And so they were like, well, we can match that if you got cash. And I was like, dude, I will go to the bank tonight. I will pick that up if that's an option. They were like, yeah, I'm on my way. Awesome. So I picked it up, and with Jared, next week is going to be my first official time, like really playing it live. I've sat in with a couple people, for 2 or 3 songs, but doing a full set with my band, it's just going to really make the sound full and fat, dude. It's going to be great.
Nice. And what band members will be playing with you at this outing?
So right now I've been really blessed to jam with. There's some local guys, and they're just, in my mind, top tier. The only other people that would be above them is like Kenny Arnoff and like Stevie Solis and people like that.
Right.
And they're just such great caliber people. They play with Frank Hannon when he's in town and he's not doing shows with Tesla. They're usually his go-to guys. Gotcha. So the fact that they would give up their time and play with me, it's just something that I can't and won't ever take for granted.
Right.
Because the not only the experience that they have under their belt from going on solo tours with Frank and other projects, but they've known each other for so long that they're together, just them without me. It is the most dangerous rhythm section in all of the West Coast, in my opinion.
Foundation
for a 3-piece. It's like rock solid, dude. They're incredible. They're incredible people.
Right on. And this is the album cover.
Yeah.
Do or Die.
Yeah, the drummer actually took that shot that I'll be playing with.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
Now, is that Black V? Is that the new one that you just got recently?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my uncle, that's another long story that I'll try and consolidate. So In the River, my music video that I produced with Frank Hannon, that black and white Flying V is the very first guitar that I ever owned. And that was originally a 1969 V, and then it got kind of hybrided out throughout the 70s and 80s. So it eventually ended up with 73 pots and tuners, and then a late 80s DiMarzio Super Distortion in the bridge.
Nice.
So when I had to give that back, my uncle was like, oh, I really want you to have another black and white Flying V. Like, I want to curate the parts and get it as close to what we can manage as the one that you used to have. So that way it's like you never really lost it, so to speak, or had to give it up. So he bought it from this guy, and the dude has literally like over 400 guitars. This one that he had in particular, he took on tour with Black Label Society. He was one of the openers for a tour many years ago. And so he was like really undercutting. He was like, oh, it's super thrash in the description. And like when it came and it got shipped to my uncle, he brought it over as a surprise. And I was going through some real hard stuff at the time in my life. And so I needed like a pick me up. And I unboxed it and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And so I opened it up, and my uncle goes, yeah, the guy was saying it was like really, really bad. And like, you don't want this guitar. It plays good, but it's all beat up. And I'm looking around, and there's like light buckle rash. It's not even to the finish, like a couple of scratches here and like one dent.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, what is this, Joe Bonamassa giving away a guitar? Because it's like, oh, there's it was like he was really trying to make it sound like he drug it behind the tour bus.
Right.
And it came out of the box super killer. And I'm just really thankful that guitar plays as well as it does, because it's just like home.
Nice.
As are pretty much all of my guitars.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Before we go any further, we got to give a shout out to Ralph. What's up, dude?
Ralph.
Someone who watches religiously on the East Coast, so
Right on.
got to give him a shout out every.
We got to make an acronym for Ralph.
Yeah, right on. That's what I was thinking of earlier. Let's see. Oh, we'll come up with something. But you guys don't forget that every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we got tunage, and actually you could see our reaction video to The River, the music video that Austin was talking about earlier. And okay, so the music video that comes out officially on what date?
On May 27th.
On May 27th, and the album is May 27th as well, correct?
Yeah.
Alrighty. And so where did you shoot that video?
So that video is actually shot at the studio. They have a live room in there, and so there you walk in and it's the control room, and then there's another room which is where we did the vocals, and then past that is they have a giant, you could probably do like a 300 to 500 person live show in there if you wanted to like get that live sound, you know.
Right.
And so they had it to their disposal, and the band that's actually playing with me in this video is another client that he works with. And so because this was shot the first trip that I went out to Boston, and when we were discussing after the fact that we were going to work together, he was like, dude, we should really do like a cover song. Like what are some of like the formative albums that you listened to growing up?
Right.
And I was like, well, I mean, Frampton Comes Alive. Like, do you feel like we do? That's like the top one for me. And he's like, I'm not going to record 15 minutes of the exact same song. That's already been done. Because he was like, do you want to change it? I was like, no. And he's like, well, then you realize how much money that's going to be, right? It's not expensive. He's a normal rate, you know, considering a normal studio wage. And so he was like, so what else? I was like, well, I love Live at Budokan. He's like, oh, we should do I Want You to Want Me. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I've already got it planned out. I was like, all right, cool. So we worked together and went back and forth. And yeah, that's the product that'll be coming out soon.
Yep.
And
next week.
if you listen to it very closely, right before the second solo, it kind of gets, in a good way and in a bad way, mulled over, because it's more visual than audio, at least for me when I watch it. There's a bunch of stops right before the second solo. It's like ba 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 ba, and then it goes into the ripping part. That's my favorite part, because we were in the studio and he's like, I got an idea, and he just pulled up the drum session and just put a bunch of cuts, cut out all the instruments. Took like a minute, and he's like, okay, yeah, continue. Joe's awesome, man. He's a great guy, great producer, and we have a lot of common interests. So walking in, it was just like hanging out with Frank.
Nice.
So how was he chosen? Like how did that happen, the partnership, to begin with?
Oh, I was meaning to send you the video that I found. Well, I'll do it afterwards, and you guys can do with it what you will. If you do a react, I'll send it to him. But when COVID was basically over, Tesla was going back on tour. This is 2 years ago now, 2021. I'd been writing a bunch of songs, and so Frank and I kind of made a rough just concept of Do or Die and Golden Girl, but Golden Girl is drastically different from how it turned out to be. So we did our little basic backing tracks, and then it was like the next week Frank was leaving, and I was getting calls left and right to do live shows. So I was like, oh, this is nice. Like I don't have to. Maybe this is what like actual rock stars feel like, because literally the whole year I didn't have to call one person. It was just left, right, and center. People who I didn't even know of were calling me to do shows. So I was like, you know what? I need to spice up my set. It's been 2 years. You know, I love Pink Floyd, and I think Young Lust could be done as a 3-piece. So I'll do that. So the way that I learn music, excuse me, is I just type in whatever song it is that I want on YouTube and then guitar cover. But this time I just typed in cover for whatever reason. It was just, you know, fate as it was. And I see this thumbnail, and it's a guy. It's super clean. It's super crisp. And he's singing. He's like really giving it all. You could see like a vein popping out of his neck. And so my initial thought was, oh, okay, this guy's got a really great studio setup in his house. Probably he's singing and playing the guitar, maybe a dual camera setup. He'll pan between 1 to 3 angles, you know, like some people do, and it'll be good. And that was the farthest thing that could have ever been the case with this video. What they did, it's as if Pink Floyd redid their music, but as like a hard rock group. Oh. It is so great. And it's 3 minutes and like 15 seconds, give or take, maybe a little bit more. And I watched it for literally an hour straight on repeat. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing, because the production of the song was the exact sound that I've been searching for, the sound that I had been wanting. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't know how to verbalize it other than I want my width of the song, so to speak, to be as wide as Perry Mason by Ozzy Osbourne.
Right.
And if you listen to that on a good system with like even the WAV file, dude, it'll shake the foundation in your house.
Oh yeah.
So the minute that I heard Joe Merrick's version of Young Lust, I was floored. So I sent it to my management, and I was just sending them this and like, dude, check this out. How cool is this? Like, this is amazing. What I didn't know is they immediately found his phone number and called him. And I was like, you did what? They're like, oh yeah. And he answered. I was like, he answered? And he was like, yeah. And you know the band that he was playing with? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, he was in the studio with them as I called, because he thought that it was a lawyer from another client based out of LA that he was thinking about working with. And I was like, oh my, so now what? And they're like, well, so they told me the conversation, and towards the end of it, Joe was like, so what do you mean? Do you want me to work with Austin? Like, he's super young, you know, what, I'm in Boston. And my manager goes, well, will a plane land there? He goes, well, yeah. I mean, we have an airport. He goes, then we're sending Austin. Yeah. And he goes, well, send me some demos. Let me see what he's about. And, you know, let's have a phone call or two. And I was like, I was more nervous calling Joe Merrick on the phone than when I met Frank backstage for the first time at a Tesla show. I was just so, I don't know why. Yeah. He was like, the very first phone call was like, hey, this is Joe. Hey, Austin, how's it going? And I was like, it's going good, man. What's going on with you? So it was a really great, I'm not going to say accident, because I don't think it was. No. But it was really cool how things unfolded to where they are right now.
Right.
Yeah. Right on. As you can see, I'm wearing my colors here for you.
I saw that. Thank you, man.
Right. For people.
Nice.
Still looks good on you.
Thank you. My svelte old body.
Right.
But okay, so Song number 1, Do or Die.
Killer.
Thank you.
Produced by Joe Merrick at Guilty Dog Studios out of Boston. So how long did it take you to record this?
So we did it in 2 parts. The first part was Do or Die, Golden Girl, and I Want You to Want Me, and the video. So that was, we flew to Boston, and my management team, they just went on vacation because, you know, why sit there in the room when they can go be a tourist in a different part of the States they've never been to. So they had a vacation. I was in the studio for literally 33 hours in the span of 3 days and then went back home. So that was our first trip. The second trip was on my birthday on 9/11, and we flew out there for 8 days. We blocked it out on our calendars. Me and my management team, we flew out. And so I'm telling Joe this, and he books 7 or 8, he books basically the whole time. And I was like, Joe, I mean, thank you, but I'd like at least one day to rest and kind of see Boston. Like, I know you live here and you know, you're used to it, but I'm a Cali boy and I've never even, people asked me like the last trip, oh, how was Boston? Did you go here? Did you go here? I said, I went to a breakfast nook and I went to the studio and then I went home.
That's entertainment.
Yeah. And the second trip, we also filmed a music video, but that's going to be its own single later this year.
Right.
And that song has about just under or just over 500 individual layers on it.
Oh, wow.
And it rocks.
Nice.
It's going to be cool for sure.
Nice. Yeah, man. So when I'm listening, do I hear a little bit of like Ace Frehley in your voice, man?
You do?
Yeah, like there's certain phrasing, like a certain way that they're like, there's a vowel, you know, the way you round the word. There's like 3 of them because I'm a huge fucking Ace Frehley fan.
Oh,
yeah.
And then it's interesting because I know you're a fan of classic rock, so it's interesting.
Oh yeah, Kiss was the very first concert that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
and I ran into Paul Stanley the very first time I went to NAMM when I was maybe 18 or something. It was just another accident, quote unquote. We landed into LA. We were meeting up with Jimi Hendrix's old drummer, and because he was our connection to get into NAMM. Cool. And we land, we get out the terminal through the sliding glass doors. This is only my second time in LA. My first time was a connection flight to London when I did that when I was 16. And in comes Paul Stanley and like 9 security guards and this little tiny little Mexican lady with a clipboard. And we're like, okay, so she's in charge. Everybody else is just for safety. So we walk by and like 20 seconds and my mom and I don't even speak because we're just in shock. And my mom goes, you want a picture? And I said, Mom, it's already too late. He's gone. She's like, no, he's not. Turn around. And I had my backpack on my back and a Starbucks in my hand. And so we just turned around and booked it. And it was perfect because there was nobody in the airport, literally like no staff or anything. It was just Paul and his entourage waiting for something. And so my mom weaved her way through everybody. And she goes, excuse me. And he goes, yeah. She goes, can I get a picture with with you and my son? He's a really big fan. You know, oh yeah, sure. Come on over. And so I was like, Paul freaking Stanley. So I'm literally like shaking, and he was super cool. He's like, so what's your name? I said, my name's Austin. He goes, oh, cool. So do you play? And I had my guitar. I was like, yeah, I play and I sing. I go, I'm just a giant fan. And he grabs my arm or grabs my shoulder, puts his arm around, and he goes, well, maybe someday I'll be a fan of you. So I'm like,
no.
Then my mom took the picture as that happened, and you could just see it it's my dad's profile picture on Facebook. Yeah. It's me and Paul Stanley. And I was just elated for like the whole rest of that trip. And then we met Prince's drummer, and hung out with the Hendrix family during that time as well. And it was just cloud nine from start to finish.
I can imagine.
You just never know who you're going to run into at NAMM.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Right on, right on. You know, yeah. Tomorrow, actually, they're gonna have it's an Andy Warhol Muddy Waters art show.
Oh wow.
Really?
Yeah, because Muddy Waters lived like a couple blocks from me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and Muddy Waters Boulevard, honorary Muddy Water Boulevard, is like a half a block away.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
So they have like a contest, and a bunch of people did like Muddy Waters blues bass inspired artwork. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Ooh, nice.
It's like, dude, it's like a minute walk from my house.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Get hot, I go back home. But yeah, it's so that's cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be some
sounds like it
as well.
Oh, you know that there has to be. If there's not, you better whip out a harmonica or something.
Gather around, folks. All right, so Do or Die, great riff on that one too, man.
Yeah, killer for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Pushing Me Away, I really dig your vocal on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That was that song was written, man, like 3 lineups ago. So that would be roughly maybe 4 years ago, 5 tops. The original background behind the lyrics was we had some stuff really hit the fan in my family, and so I was pulling a lot from experiences that it wasn't directly for me, it was from one of my parents, and so from what was going on with them, I pulled from what was happening and wrote down all these lyrics. And so when I showed Joe the very first trip, he wanted to do that song and like another song that I really wasn't too hot on. And then I think it was Do or Die and try and squeeze in Cheap Trick if we could.
Yeah.
And so on the second trip, he was like, I have a really, really good idea with Pushing Me Away, because during that time in September, I won't get into details, but he was going through some stuff in his life. And so he took an evening after a session and was at the studio till basically 2 or 3 in the morning, kind of vamping the lyrics and the hook. And he told me this, and I was like, oh man, that's going to be a lot of money. That was my first reaction. And then he goes, and because we were on the phone, and I was silent, and he goes, look, I'm not going to charge you for it because it was very therapeutic and it's helping me with what I'm going through. And I was like, are you sure you don't want anything? Like, that's a lot of time, Joe. And he's like, nope. You know, if you want to tip me, that's cool. But, you know, this is, I'm giving you, you know, this basically as a freebie. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. I really think that has the most like radio ready hook on it. It's like the most pop song out of the lot of them.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting with this album too, is like, it gives you a lot of places to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Southern rock, you know, Good Old Boy, Stomp.
Yeah.
Country, even, you know, rock, hard rock. You know, there's a lot in this that you can, you know.
But there's still good continuity between the tunes, though. So
Right. But what I'm saying is, there's, you know, it's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people, even when I was working with Frank, when I was showing him like Golden Girl was a total 180 from how it ended up. It was really like slow, and the band that I had at the time, we were novice at writing music, just the 3 of us, because we were just getting to know each other. And so I was like, well, I have the song idea, and the drummer and I, when we would get in that mindset, we would get really good at bouncing stuff off each other. So when I presented it to Frank, it was like a really slow, like Southern drawly, like it was like it'll push you to sleep slow. But I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I hope, like, let's just send this to Frank and see what he thinks.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, that's a good first start. Why don't you try and speed it up a little bit? Maybe, and he goes, remember when we wrote The River, the chorus was a lifting part. So why don't you find some chords in this key that really lift and then use that as the chorus? And I said, okay. And so we did that. We kind of sped it up a little bit. We added a really basic, just like he was, my drummer at the time was playing on his lap. But you could, if you're a musician, you can envision exactly what he's trying to do. So then we sent that to Frank. He was like, okay, well, that's cool. And then that was right when he went on tour. So it kind of, it lined up perfectly because Frank left. And then we found Joe, and I sent all this stuff to Joe, and he was like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what to do with this song. Like, can I just send you an idea? I was like, sure. So he sent me his idea that he heard for it with just a super rough vocal on top. And I was like, this is your rough idea? He was like, yeah, it's not perfect. Like, I know this is imbalanced and this is imbalanced. And it's almost sonically what you guys have. What I gave you in January. Nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, this it still blows me away on how spectacular it is that it came out.
Nice. And then Good For Me, what's that song about?
Well, Good For Me was his song. So that is the only other cover on the EP. And I would imagine, based on the lyrics, because I didn't really dive too much into it, he was really proud of it. And he showed me it on the very first trip that I was out there. And he recorded that song a while ago. And he goes, hey, I think you would sound really good playing this song. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, I could learn it in my band and I could go play it and whatever. Yeah. He goes, no, I mean, I want you to re-record my song. I said, well, you want me to do what? He's like, yeah, I love this song, but your vocal delivery that you've had in the studio so far, I think you could really bring it up to another level. And so that's how that transpired. And Joe is playing all the instruments on all the tracks that are coming out. Drums, bass, keyboards, backup vocals. I'm just doing guitar and a little bit of backup and vocals as well.
Right on.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then we go to On Your Way Home.
Yeah. So that one was a song for me more than for the public. Because my family, so it's myself, I have a younger sister and an older brother, and we live just 20 minutes up north from us is like farm country, and 20 minutes down south is like bars and stuff. So my older brother spent his formative like teenage years up in the farm country, and me, being a responsible teenager, spent it in the bars playing music. So with that diverse kind of crowd that we exposed ourselves to, my brother got to know a bunch of good friends. And there was one guy who he had a difficult situation because he was the last of his family that was alive. And so we took him in, and he lived with us for 6 months. His name was Chris. And he liked to let loose a little bit. He didn't do drugs to our knowledge, but when he drank, he really sometimes could get a little too far, unfortunately. And but he was the kindest soul that we had ever met. And the thing that still blows my mind, and he wasn't like, there's sometimes when you go to like a country concert, there's the dudes that aren't country that are like, they work at Michael Kors, but they put a cowboy hat on because they want to go chase some tail. Right. He looked like he just got out of underneath a car. Dirt everywhere under his nails. Every time with his cowboy hat on, and he would just stand there, and ring, no ring, girlfriend, boyfriend, doesn't matter. The hottest chick in the bar would always heat seek him like a missile and demand to dance with him. And I don't know what it was. He must have had a certain smell.
He had that thing.
Yeah. And so every
Hormones.
time we would bring him out to a show, I'd be playing, and then I would look at my manager and be like, what? And I'm like, and so he was like my wingman for a long time. And unfortunately, when he was leaving the bar one day, he just didn't make it home. And it was real tragic. And I was spending time in Texas with my good friend, and he had passed like right when I landed.
Wow.
Right when I got there. And so my mom called everybody, and because she knew how important he was to all of us.
Right.
And she goes, hey, just don't post anything, please. You know, Austin can't know. And the day that I was leaving, one of the country artists that he saw the most made a video in dedication to him. And that's how I found out. And it was just, it's still hard to talk about it,
right?
But through those emotions and those memories and stuff, came out that song. And there's a line in it that talks about, to the effect of seeing him in the afternoon or the morning of, and everything seemed to be okay. And that was from my brother, because my brother was getting him back on his feet, and he literally saw him the morning that he passed, and he had just bought him a brand new truck. And my brother is an engineer, so he has clients all over California. So he left to go work on a farm equipment, and he was telling our friend Chris, he goes, hey, I'm going to go 20 minutes away, work on the tractor. Let's have lunch after I'm done. It's going to be around 2 or 3. And Chris goes, yeah, okay, sounds good. I'll see you then. And around 2 or 3 is when my brother got the call. Yeah.
That's rough, man.
Yeah. It's always hard losing somebody, but that was a real wake up call, you know, that life is, you don't know what's going to happen, you know?
Yeah. Not from one day to the next, for sure.
Yeah.
But at least now the world will know about him through that song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's part of me that wanted to omit his name in the part. One of the lines says, love you, Chris. You always brighten up our days. And when I was in Boston talking to the producer about it, he was like, look, if this is for him, it's got to be for him. You got to own it. And so
for sure,
the first time we played this song, it was when I opened up for Y&T at a local amphitheater. There was probably just maybe 1,500 to 2,000 people, I think. And I hadn't really thought about how I was going to introduce it. And so when I did, I was like, okay, so who's got a drink in their hand? Because I placed it to where it was towards the end of the set, but it wasn't the last song because I didn't want to bum people out that bad. So everyone was like, whoa. And I go, okay, well, this next song, and I can't remember exactly what I said. I go, it's about my brother who passed away from a DUI. And I was like, you know, please, if you don't have a DD, just take an Uber, because it's not worth getting that phone call, you know, that your loved one is gone. And so after that event, I was walking around in the crowd, and I probably got like 20 people that walked up, either people who had passed that month or that year that they knew to alcoholism, or people who had survived going down that path and were sober, and they were in tears, which made me cry a lot.
Yeah.
But it's a very healing song whenever I get to play it, and it just floods back memories of watching all the girls.
Yeah.
Like there would literally be lines waiting to dance with this dude. It was a trip. He was a good guy.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so Golden Girl.
Yeah.
And what's the song about, sir?
Well, you would think it would be about a girl, right? But
one would think
with the title, so
perhaps a golden one.
Yeah, right. So I woke up one night, and I usually wake up, kind of stretch a little bit, and go back to bed. So I wake up, and I hear the song. Like, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. Carlos Santana, I believe it was him. I was watching a behind the music video, and he said something like, I'm just a vessel for music, and the reason why I'm put here on earth is to give people the songs that couldn't have been written by others. And I was like, well, that's really trippy. And then he explained it. He goes, I'll wake up and I hear this song, and I can't go and do anything else until I write it out. And most of the time, it's all of it. He goes, whenever that happens, the way that I believe it is somebody was so passionate about this song and loved me so much that they knew that I would do it justice. And so they're giving it to me. So, and this has happened to me on multiple occasions. And I kind of got in that mindset of, well, this is just, somebody wanted this song to be written, and it's being given to me. So clock struck 3 a.m. I didn't get to bed until 4:30. And I had the main, all of it pretty much done. I had my acoustic guitar out. I was strumming very quietly, writing, and I was really kind of shocked with what I was writing about, because at the time I had never had a girlfriend before. I don't typically exhibit those feelings in what I was writing. So I was like, I can't sell this. Like, what? Ew, like, I don't feel these things. I'm a dude. Like, I don't write about she's sweet as honey and she loves everybody and all this stuff. I'm like, this is really like tutti frutti, like gushy, typical Hollywood 80s movie just stuff. And so I showed it to my management, and they were like, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, this is me. I guess I wrote this song last night, and I don't want to record it. They're like, no, we're going to record it eventually, but just keep it in the back pocket. So when I sent all my stuff to Joe, that was included in it. And he was like, oh, I know exactly what to do. And it was just he sent a rough idea, and it was incredible. And so only after that point that Joe sent me his idea, I liked it, because the way that I wrote it, I just could not stand it, man. I was like, this is too ooey gooey for a 20-year-old dude to be writing about. Like, I could see this being like, if a early teen wrote this, like a kid going into his first relationship or something like that. But me just in my room out of nowhere writing about this mystery girl who I've yet to find her. So if you guys know any golden girls who are preferably my age, mind you, internet, send them over. That I might have to add some asterisks there, because that's a very wide invitation.
That's right.
But yeah, no, it was a really cool song, and one of my favorites now when I get to play it live.
Yeah.
Right on. And speaking of playing live, you're going to be playing with Mr. Nichols soon, right?
Yeah, I actually So last year I hit him up for the show, because they had posted it at this venue. It was literally 30 seconds. The ad was live, and I had woken up at like, I think it was 6 a.m. It felt like 6. It was probably more like 8. But so when I made the connection with Jared and all this stuff, when they were redoing their tour schedule, they hit me up. His manager did, and they was like, "Hey, Austin, we're thinking around May, late May. Either the last weekend or the second to last weekend. What do you think? And I was like, what do I think? I think I'm available. It doesn't matter what I think. You tell me what you want to do, and I'm there. So he hit up the venue, Jared's manager did, and they got all the details situated. And I asked my band members, I said, hey, it's going to be another show with Jared, and are you available? And they were like, dude, yeah, we love Jared. And they've met Jared a handful of times through playing on the Monsters of Rock cruise with Frank.
Oh, right on.
So it's always a real cool just to like watch them bounce stories off each other. And then once it clicks, like, oh yeah, I remember, yeah, 2 a.m. we were at karaoke or whatever it is. It's always a great time hanging out with Jared and his crew. And they're all fantastic people.
Yeah, you know, entertainment. I mean, there's pros and cons to being an entertainer, and a lot of it's like time away from home or whatever. But dude, the stories, the situations, some are just absolute hilarious.
Oh yeah, like I just watched an interview. It was more or less like a Q&A with Joe Walsh, and he was talking about life's been good.
Oh yeah, man.
And he goes, I live in a mansion, forget the price. Something like,
I've never been there.
I hardly live there. I've never been there. They tell me it's nice.
Right.
So he goes, I wrote that lyric because from Long Run until 2 albums later, the Eagles were on the road 24/7.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we would go home, it was almost like we were on vacation, but it wasn't a vacation because that's my home, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting way to like put it in a musical sense.
Yeah.
Right.
I just took my my son in March. We went and saw the Eagles, and it was unreal.
Nice. I didn't get to see the Eagles, but I got to see Don Henley, and I was literally 5 feet away from him, up close, up in Reno, Nevada.
Nice.
And it was awesome. And I got a guitar pick from him, and that was super cool.
Yeah.
And he played basically all their hits, which is kind of weird because even he did some of the ones that he wasn't a part of, which I'm not going to complain.
Sure. Right.
But dude, hearing Victim of Love and like Hotel California from the guy, one of the 3 people that were there in the studio, it just, I can play it as well as I can in my mind. Oh, I'm playing it just like him. But when you see it in front of you and he's like right here, it's like, oh, I don't do that. I don't do this. He uses his ring finger here. And it's hard to be an audience member as a musician rather than analyzing something. So the Eagles, I really hope they do another tour soon, because I don't even care if it's like Chicago. I'm just gonna go and stay with Vince, and we're gonna go see the Eagles.
You know what? I've been to I don't know 70 shows probably or more in my life, but I gotta say, and I wasn't even expecting to love it as much as I did, but it was out of this world. Yeah, production was great, sound was top notch. And
I'd imagine.
I mean, the harmonies. Oh.
Yeah, and our audio professor Ed Mashal recorded 5 of the Eagles albums.
Yeah,
really.
He won 5 Grammys with the Eagles.
Yeah, he did. The first being Hotel California. That's the guy that taught us.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's why when I did,
I've touched the liner notes from the board.
When I made my TikTok, which I'm doing my best to try and build up my social media. 7 Bridges Road, dude. That is just the harmonies and everything still gives me chills. Yeah. So I came across, you know how people upload isolated tracks on YouTube and stuff. So I was like, well, I wonder if I can find their vocals, because I can do backup vocals on my own, but I need like a reference starter note, and it's mixed so well that it was the studio album, or the live recording, shall I say, it was kind of hard for me to decipher who's doing what. And so I found them, and I was listening to each track, and there's one guy, it might be Joe Walsh, he's super nasally, like it's all right here. It's like
that's because I had cocaine back in it.
Yeah, just like that. And one guy has a lisp, and then Glenn Fry's Glenn Fry. And it was really surreal to just kind of like go through everybody's vocal take and listen to it to learn how to harmonize with myself again.
Interesting. Yeah, see, it teaches decades later.
Oh yeah. I'm still learning from Hendrix. Let's be real.
And you always will be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And your album's well mixed too. So
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Yeah, Joe's stuff is just
sounds production good. Sounds really good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm still digging the Ace Frehley notes in some of the vocals.
You got to send me which ones those are because I'll have to.
I'll write like the exact phrase. I'm like, this reminds me, because we just did a reaction to Ace Frehley doing Space Trucking last week.
Oh, really? He did. Yeah. Did he sing it?
Or, oh yeah.
Was it good?
It's killer.
Dude.
It's killer.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll have to check it out.
Ace's last record. I mean, get it
like covers tunes,
Yeah, we got to get out of this place. I mean, he kills on that one. He's
Wow, I wouldn't expect him to still have that range.
Oh, dude, he's singing better than ever, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Really cool. Yeah, he's come out 4 albums in the past 5 years or something.
Yeah. And he had Eric Steckel open. I think he's still opening for him on this tour, or at least he was in the beginning of the year. Yeah.
Eric's a badass player, man.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible guy.
Frehley is
great piano player too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what tripped me out. I mean, the dude can do it. Can do it all. I'm sure when he gets on the drum kit, it's just bottom and a half and then some.
Yeah.
Right.
Didn't he jam with John Mayall as well? I think he did something with Mayall when he was young.
He was in his band. Yeah. What was it, the Blues Breakers? Is that what they called them? Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was 12.
I know, it's crazy.
Kid was 12 playing with him, and when I met him, I just very briefly I was like, "So who are you?" Because I didn't know. I saw him jam with the Hendrix family, and it was just like Yngwie Malmsteen plays slow compared to Eric when Eric's on, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" So I ran into him at NAMM that next day, and I was like, "Hey man, I know you got to be somebody, but I'm nobody, and this is my first time seeing you last night. So, how do you know this bass player who played with Earth, Wind, and Fire?" Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Oh, I've known him for a long time. We played together many years, in and out of projects." He goes, "I know the Hendrix family because they've mentored me, a handful of them." I was like, "Oh, that's super cool."
Yeah.
And then I looked him up when I got home, and I was like, "Oh no,
yeah,
I made a fool of myself." And I was like, "Oh, I hope he didn't get offended that I didn't know who he was," but he was super cool about it.
Yeah.
And he told me where to find his Mesa Barbara's. They had a booth there.
Yeah.
And his I forgot the name of the guitar manufacturer.
Nags. He plays Nags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, just go down 3 booths, take a right, and then you'll see my signature series. Tell them that I sent you, and they'll just treat you like gold." And I was like, I'm not going to do that because they'll expect me to play like you. But it was super cool. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Right on. Hey, you know who's listening?
The government.
Ralph.
Ralph's listening.
Nice.
And Ralph's tapped into the government, tapping into us.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we'll talk about the cover of "I Want You to Want Me" on Tunage with Austin Moe. So that'll be out the 27th. So will the album, and you can grab that here, correct?
Yeah. And or austinmo.com.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
it's a little easier.
If I want to get one of those cool Austin Moe t-shirts like Vince has, I go to which website?
You just hit me up right now. We're working on our online store.
Oh, you don't have merch yet? Okay.
Yeah, well, we do have merch, but the online storefront is a little more complicated than we anticipated.
Gotcha.
So it's just a little bit of a learning curve for me because I manage my website.
Okay.
So I've got it just about set up, and then once it is, you'll be able to night and day get whatever.
Cool.
Right on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, dude, congratulations on the release of your album.
Thank you, guys.
That's pretty exciting.
Very exciting.
Austin Moe, do or die.
Yeah.
Little reference to Stairway to Heaven there.
Little bit.
Yeah. That's what I heard. As soon as I heard, I'm like, oh, I hear acoustic guitars. Ding. That's awesome, man. Dude, it sounds great.
It really does.
Thank you.
It's consistent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, dude, I'm excited for you.
And I was telling Vince, man, songwriting is super solid for where you like, for as early on in your career.
Yeah.
Only up from here, man.
Thank you. Yeah. I've been thinking, because I've been writing music still. I can't stop. I'm like, how am I going to beat this? Because this is just amazing.
It'll just happen, man. You'll just get better and better.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's always interesting when something comes out, because it's always a year, 2 years after they wrote it, and they're already writing something else and this stuff. And there's goods coming, and you're like, everyone, you're doing your job right. People want more.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, they want Mo.
They want Mo.
They want Austin.
As the great Billy Idol once said.
That's right.
Go get some Austin Mo. Absolutely. Austin, thank you, sir, for coming on again.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Best of everything to you and your family, of course. And
thank you.
We'll see you soon on Tunage. And thanks, everyone, for joining in. Remember, go buy Austin Mo's new music, and you'll love it. Anyway, love you, brother. Austin, love you, man.
Love you guys.
Have a good one, and we will
Horns
see
up.
you guys later. Horns up.